Welcome to the Stoic Tide. What happens when the man she used to know, the one she could predict, control, and push around emotionally, doesn't exist anymore? When she reaches out, expecting the same soft replies, the same desperation, the same need for closure. But instead she's met with silence, stillness, composure. That's when it hits her. Not immediately, but slowly, quietly. The realization creeps in. You're not that man anymore. She thought time would hold you in place, that you'd be stuck in the same emotional cycle, waiting, hoping, hurting. She thought you'd stay accessible, familiar. But what she didn't expect was your evolution. You didn't become cold. You became clear. You didn't stop caring. You stopped proving. You didn't ghost her. You outgrew her. That's Stoic evolution. It's not loud. It's not for show. It's internal. It's surgical. It's a quiet detachment from everything and everyone that once distracted you from your mission. This isn't about revenge. This is about self-respect. This is what happens when a man stops negotiating his worth and starts embodying it. She's realizing it now. Every time you don't reply, every time you don't explain yourself, every time she reaches for the old you and finds nothing. You didn't change overnight. You changed because the pain demanded it, and now the silence says everything. If you've stopped being who they expected, if you've evolved into the version of yourself they never saw coming, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I don't shrink to fit the past. Now let's begin. Number 1, she thought you'd stay the same. You didn't. She expected time to stand still. She assumed that even if she pulled away, disappeared, or played games, you'd stay rooted. That you'd be there if she came back. That the same man she left behind would be waiting. Just as open, just as vulnerable, just as available. Because that's who you were. Predictable, steady, emotionally invested. But she didn't account for growth, for silence, for self-respect. She thought she paused the story, but what she didn't realize is that your story kept going without her. You didn't freeze in that chapter. You moved into the next one, and now she's trying to reconnect with a version of you that no longer exists. She's calling out to a ghost because the man who once needed her presence has now mastered her absence. You didn't evolve out of spite. You evolved because life demanded it, because pain changed you, because silence shaped you. You didn't wake up one morning and decide to become a different man. You were forged into him slowly, relentlessly through nights of doubt, discipline, and brutal honesty with yourself. And now that you've changed, she doesn't know how to engage. Her old moves don't work. Her control is gone. She expected the same dynamic, the same script. But the scene has changed and she no longer has a role in it. You didn't stay the same. That was her first mistake, thinking you would. Number 2, you no longer need her to feel whole. There was a time when her attention felt like oxygen. When her presence made you feel seen, complete, worthy. You wrapped your identity around her validation. How she looked at you, responded to you, made space for you. And when she pulled back, it shook you because back then your emotional stability lived outside of you in her hands. But not anymore. Now you've stepped into something unshakable, self-containment. You're not looking for completion. You're not looking for approval. You're no longer dependent on someone else to remind you of your value. That need, the emotional hunger that once kept you waiting for her, died in the silence and in its place. Discipline, purpose, wholeness. That shift is what she feels now, even if she can't name it. It's the way you don't flinch when she reaches out. The way you don't need to prove you've moved on. The way you hold your energy like it's sacred. You used to try to earn her love. Now you don't chase anything that cost your peace. She expected you to fold at the first sign of reconnection, to come running the moment she cracked the door open. But you're not that man anymore. You've become full on your own. And when a man reaches that level of stillness, he becomes unreachable to the people who only knew his broken version. Number 3, you're unavailable in ways that matter most. She can still message you, still check your socials, still scroll through your old photos like they mean something. She might even convince herself she could get you back with the right timing, the right words. But what she doesn't realize is that the version of you she had access to wasn't just physically present. It was emotionally available. And that man, he's gone. You're not just hard to reach, you're hard to affect. That's the difference now. She used to be able to pull you in with a glance, a vague message, a breadcrumb. Now you don't react. You don't flinch. You're not playing that game anymore because you've built something stronger than pride or revenge. You've built emotional boundaries. This is what Stoic evolution looks like. It's not just about not answering the phone. It's about being so locked into your focus, your peace, your mission, that her presence or lack of it doesn't change a thing. You used to live in response mode. Now you live on your terms, not out of ego, out of clarity. And that's what shakes her. She can still reach out, but she can't reach you. Not where you are now. Because your energy no longer leaks where it's not respected. And when a man becomes emotionally unavailable to chaos, to manipulation, to the same old cycles, that's when he becomes truly untouchable. Number 4. You stop seeking closure. She's searching for it now. You used to lie awake at night wondering what went wrong, replaying every conversation, trying to make sense of the mixed signals, the hot and cold, the way she pulled away without warning. You needed answers. You wanted closure. You thought if you just understood it better, the pain would finally stop. But that's the old you. The evolved you doesn't chase closure anymore because you realized it's a trap. You don't need her to explain, justify, or confess. You've accepted what is, not what could have been. You made peace with the silence, and in doing so, you took back your power. Closure didn't come in a conversation. It came in a decision. Your decision to stop bleeding for someone who kept cutting. And now the roles have reversed. She's the one seeking answers, not because she suddenly understands your worth, but because your detachment has created a vacuum, a silence she doesn't know how to sit with. You're no longer the man pacing in the dark, refreshing the chat, hoping she finally says something that makes it all make sense. You're past that. You didn't get the apology. You didn't get the clarity. But what you did get: control, peace, evolution. And now she's stuck staring into the silence, looking for the very thing she once denied you. Closure. But the door's already closed. You didn't wait for it to be handed to you. You became it. Number 5, she lost access not because you blocked her, but because you elevated. You didn't hit block. You didn't post some dramatic "I'm done" speech. You didn't make a show of cutting her off. You simply rose silently, gradually, without needing her to notice, and that's what makes it real. You didn't force distance. You just became someone she no longer knows how to reach. She didn't lose access to you because you shut the door. She lost access because you outgrew the house. She stayed rooted in the same games, the same patterns, thinking you'd keep showing up the same way. But while she stayed still, you elevated mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The man who once responded to every breadcrumb no longer exists, and the man who replaced him, he doesn't respond to noise at all. And now she's feeling that loss. Not through your anger, but through your absence. She can still find your number. She can still type out a message. But what she can't access is your presence, your energy, your investment. Because those things aren't available to people who treated them like they were disposable. That's the highest form of discipline. Not cutting people off in rage, but rising so far above the situation that they can no longer reach who you've become. No argument, no announcement, just quiet evolution. She didn't get left behind because you pushed her away. She got left behind because she never moved and you did. Number 6, you're not cold. You're controlled. She'll say you changed, that you shut down, that you became emotionless, distant, hard. But that's not the truth. You're not cold. You're controlled. You didn't stop feeling. You just stopped leaking. The difference is discipline. You still have a heart. You've just stopped handing it over to people who don't know how to hold it. Before your emotions ran wild, you reacted fast, spoke quickly, reached out when you felt the panic hit. That made you predictable. Software easy to manipulate. But now you've mastered the space between impulse and action. You've learned to pause, to observe, to protect your energy instead of putting it up for auction. She's mistaking your calm for cruelty because she never expected you to be silent on purpose. She thought you'd always try to fix it, always try to explain yourself, always crack under pressure. But you don't, not anymore. Your silence isn't a wall. It's a filter. A filter that blocks out drama, chaos, and disrespect. A filter that keeps your peace intact. Stoic evolution doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop performing. It means you don't show your cards to someone who only ever came to the table to play. You're not cold. You're measured. You're aware. You're dangerous. Not because you're heartless, but because you've learned to control when and where that heart is seen. Number 7. You're focused on legacy, not loops. There was a time when you couldn't stop replaying the past, the fights, the silence, the what-ifs. You were stuck in the loop, revisiting the same pain, recycling the same thoughts, hoping for a different outcome. But that version of you didn't have direction. He only had memories. And memories aren't a mission. They're just noise. Now you're not spinning in circles. You're building forward. You're done repeating the same emotional loops with someone who was never growing with you. You've shifted your mindset from reaction to creation, from thinking about her to thinking about legacy, about what you're building, who you're becoming, what you're leaving behind when this is all said and done. She's still waiting for the old version of you to reappear, the one who lived in his feelings, The one who stayed stuck in the same story. But that chapter's closed. You've replaced emotional obsession with purpose. She's still watching the door you walked out of. You've already found another one. One that leads to something greater than approval or affection. It leads to impact. That's the real shift. When a man stops living in cycles and starts moving in lines, straight, focused, forward. She thought she had time. Thought the loop would always be there. But while she's rewinding, you're evolving quietly, relentlessly, and you're not coming back to repeat a lesson you've already learned. Number 8, her influence faded the moment you chose yourself. There was a time when her mood could shift your whole day. One cold response, one delayed reply, one look, and suddenly your confidence dropped. You were emotionally tethered to her approval. That wasn't love. That was control. Silent, subtle control built on your own lack of clarity. But the day you chose yourself, the day you stopped needing her to validate your worth, that's the day her influence began to fade. It didn't happen with some big declaration. It happened in your silence, in your pause before reacting, in your decision to stop explaining yourself to someone who never truly saw you. You stopped showing up to prove your value and started moving like a man who knows it. And without that emotional dependency, her power dissolved. Not because she changed, you did. She may still be in your past, but she no longer lives in your mind. Her voice doesn't shape your direction. Her attention doesn't define your confidence. You chose peace over chaos, growth over ego, self-respect over emotional negotiation. And that choice shifted everything. She didn't lose you when she walked away. She lost you the moment you finally realized you didn't need to be chosen to be complete. The moment you stopped bending and started building. That's when her grip slipped for good. Number 9, she doesn't recognize the man you've become. That's the point. She keeps looking for traces of the old you. The one who over-explained, over-apologized, over-gave. She's testing the waters, waiting for a glimpse of the man she used to manage. But he's gone. And every time she tries to engage with who you were, she's met with a wall of calm, composed indifference. Not pettiness, not revenge, just evolution. She doesn't recognize you anymore. Your silence is sharper, your eyes more focused, your energy no longer pulled toward her gravity. And that's not by accident. That's the point. You didn't change for her. You changed for you. You're not interested in proving anything. You're not explaining why you're different. You just are. This new version of you isn't emotionally available for someone who drained the last one. You're more reserved, more direct, more self-possessed. And to her that feels like unfamiliar territory because the power dynamic is flipped. And it's subtle but absolute. You're no longer trying to make her see your value. Now she's struggling to understand how she ever missed it. That's the price of not appreciating someone while they're still within reach. They grow, they evolve. They stop asking to be understood and start living like they never needed to be. And when that happens, recognition turns to regret. But it's already too late. Number 10, the story didn't end. It evolved without her. She thought it ended when the connection broke. That the story paused. That maybe with time it could resume where it left off. But what she didn't realize is this. The story didn't end. It evolved. And it evolved in a direction she can't follow because it no longer includes her. She was the turning point, not the destination. The pain she caused, it didn't destroy you. It awakened you. It forced you to confront who you really are, what you truly want, and what kind of man you refuse to be, ever again. The heartbreak wasn't a dead end. It was a launch pad. And now every day you wake up more focused, more controlled, more free. You're writing a new chapter. She stayed still, assuming your story froze when she left. But yours kept moving quieter, cleaner, faster. Not built on resentment, but on discipline. Not on trying to make her regret it, but on making sure you never settle again. You didn't climb just to show her how far you could go. You climbed because staying down there was killing you. That's the final twist. She thought she ended your story, but really she just gave it meaning. And now you're too far ahead to explain how it all changed. You've evolved past the part where you needed her to understand. The story isn't over. It's just way beyond her reach. You didn't get colder. You got clearer. You didn't get harder, you got wiser. This is Stoic evolution. The quiet, focused transformation of a man who stops reacting and starts building. If you've stopped trying to be who they remember and started becoming who you were always meant to be, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. She won't recognize who I've become, and that's the goal. This is the Stoic Tide. Stay stoic, stay blessed, and thanks for watching.